Have you ever thought what you could do with little jars from your yogurt pot? So today I'm going to show you types of examples of something you could paint at your leisure, different designs. You can put little tea lights in them, put them on your tables when you're doing a summer barbecue. So first of all, we're going to paint with acrylics. Any acrylics will do. If you have some acrylics with high pigments, it's probably better. Cheaper acrylics, you need to do more than one coat very often. So what we're going to do, we're going to paint, sponge a little background in green before we paint our flowers. So basically take a no sponge and cut a shape of it, or if you've got a sea sponge, that's even better. You just dab in the paint and then dab on your pot, and you keep going around. Doesn't matter, any shape will do. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just go around your pot. Go right round. This is just going to be the base of where we're going to put our flowers. And for this purpose, I'm doing a kind of a meat green. Yeah, just like that. And just let it dry. Put your sponge in your water bucket if you can. Doesn't matter what kind of water holder you have, but I have this one, which is clean water on one side and dirty water on the other side. So you let this dry. I'm just going to let it dry on here for now. And next we will do the little roses. And for that, you're going to need a pink. Mid pink or light pink is fine, not too dark. And some white. Right, you're going to need a 3 round brush. That kind of brush, really. Your favorite make. So we're going to have to wait until our background is dry before we can do anything. Right, so we're now going to base coat some small circles to paint those little roses. So you can do different shapes, different sizes, more than shapes, but different sizes. You can do some large ones, medium ones, smaller ones. And don't worry, we're going to do a second coat. And we're going to go right round the pot. Doesn't have to be perfect circles. So long as they are fairly round. Yeah. And you can do in groups of 3, 4, 5, something like that. Try to do the larger ones at the bottom and the smaller ones towards the top. Yeah. Too tiny one. See, here I've done 4. They have done just 3. I'm going to do a couple more here, so that I've got flowers around. Maybe a tiny one here. Okay, so when you've got right round your pot, we're going to let it dry for a second to make, and then we'll do our second coat. Right, so now I'm reloading my brush. I'm going to go over all my circles to make it more opaque. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, so don't worry too much about it. Here we are. I just want to have good coverage so we have a nice base to paint on. And you can do this in a line if you like, so you can start the next one whilst the first one is drying. You probably could do 4 or 5 in a row fairly easily. Especially if you want to make a few for a special barbecue event, or you want to make a few to sort of for gifts, then you have plenty of stock. Yeah. And the thicker the pen, the more ridges you're going to get. And in some style of painting, that's not a particularly good idea. But for this particular little rose, doesn't really matter. It won't affect the end product. And if your little rose is not quite dry, when you put the second coat, you're going to lift it. So it's best to make sure it's all dried. There we are. So now I might put a little bit more on this one. If you're not happy with it, we could always do a third coat. But basically, we're doing 1 coat and 2 coat. And then we're going to do this little round dark red or pink, just off center to about 1 o'clock. So I'm going to use a burgundy rose to make my little tops. And for that, I'm actually going to use the end of my pen brush. And about top 1 o'clock, that sort of thing, I'm going to dot these little centers. Now, if you want the rose to face another way, then just put your little dot on the other side. Try to make sure the rose will face the other way. If this one and then this one will be less bent. Like some of it will won't show when we start painting the petals. Three more. Big one here, smaller one there. There we go. So now we've got all our centers in our little roses. I'm going to clean the end of my brush. You can do that with a dotting tool or an old biro or something that's got a little round shape. Doesn't have to be a paintbrush, or you could have a dotting tool. So next we're going to, now that we've got our little centers, we're going to make two little commas either side of the center, like little C strokes. And for that, we're going to need, we're going to take our pink, dip it into white, just make sure it picks up. And we're going to sort of start at the top, do a little comma stroke, and then same on the other side. So there's not enough white there, it's not picking up enough. So I'm going to go over it. There we are. So you're going touch, pull, lift, touch, pressure, pull and lift. And that's your basic stroke. Then we're going to do one on the side, one on this side, load up in pink, tip in white, again suck, up, and we're going to do a little tail like that. So we're going to do touch, press, pull and round, touch, press, pull and round, touch, press, pull. And that could be enough if you wanted to do a small one. And then when we do in the center, touch, press, pull and round, touch, press, pull and round. You're basically going underneath, doing one petal, two petal, and a little tail at the end. This one looks. Okay, so load up your brush in pink, tip in white, go around your center, touch, pull and lift. That's a stroke underneath. Tip in your white, touch, and they're just really basic little strokes. You can practice on a piece of paper if you're not familiar with these strokes. And try to overlap them so that they go underneath. It can be a bit more pink or a bit more white. There we go. So basically what you're ending up with is two strokes either side your circles, then two strokes either side underneath, two more underneath and a little tail. So it's quite repetitive. So we're going to continue doing all our roses in the same way. So it's called comma strokes, so they look like little commas. And go right round. touch, pull, pull and stroke. I want a bit more pink on that one. Touch, press, pull and lift my little gel. Touch, press, pull and lift. There we go. The more you do them, the better it is, and the more you get used to it. There we are. Around the center, and on the other side, one underneath, and that one. To little tail. It's good to do little tails to finish it off. Oh, just put my finger in it, so that we'll have to touch it up later. Also, when you're painting on glass, you need to make sure your glass has been prepped and clean, so there's no grease left on there. But for your practice one, it doesn't really matter. You can, this quite cheap little surfaces, so it doesn't really matter if you don't do a perfect job first time round. Press, pull and lift. Load in your pink, tip in your white. When you have 3 round brush, make sure it comes to a point, so that if it doesn't come to a point, you won't be able to do your stroke work very well. Press, pull and lift. Up, round your circle. Up to the other side. A bit more pink. Yeah, last 3. So touch, press, pull and lift, touch, press, pull and lift, touch, press, pull and lift. Sometimes it's quite good to reload in your contrast color. You can do it every stroke, but every couple of strokes maybe at the most. If you're doing it less often, you'll find that your colors become all kind of even. You don't have much contrast. You've got a lot of white on there. Up, touch, press and pull. Touch, press and pull. Touch, press and pull. My little tail. I'm going to maybe touch this one up a bit. Does it become a bit? Yeah, it's a bit better. And I'm going to touch up this horrible mess that I've made. So I'm going to go over it with my pink. It's possible that that little piece is a bit greasy under there. That's why it came off. I'll touch it later. Touch it back up. Okay, so that's where we are so far. And next we're going to make some little leaves and little stems. So we're going to get another green. So with a liner, I'm going to load a mid green, slightly lighter than my background. And I'm going to pull little stems for my roses. Just touch it and pull it so they have something. Do thin lines. I'm going to put one for there. Three, so it can be in a line, or you could make them slightly different. Okay. Next I've taken number 2 filbert. I'm going to load up the tip in my lighter green, tip it in white just for interest. And we're going to do some little flick leaves. So basically just press your filbert and lift, just like that. And just scatter them around. Reload, tip in your white. And then just add them wherever you fancy. Doesn't have to be in a specific order. But there and then, just to give it a little bit of interest on your pot. 2 little fillers. Press, lift. A bit too much white there. Sometimes I tip in yellow. Just touch and pull. And put them in gaps around the flowers towards the bottom. One, two. Doesn't matter where. Even if it go over your roses, it makes no difference. And I've just gone in my paint again. It's better if you take a bit more time and make sure each element is dry before you move on. But don't want to be watching paint dry. See, they make themselves leaf shape without any difficulties. Tuck. The more you press, the bigger the leaf. You can make them quite tiny, but just touch and lift. You can make little one floating about like that. So there you are. I'm going to finish my little rose here, but this is your finished pot. You can do slightly different greens. You could do them red and white, or yellow and white, whatever color you prefer, and have fun with it. Thank you for watching.